This is the E-commerce Edge podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Pod. It is my pleasure to welcome our next incredible guest, Mr. Dan CHORLTON from GOA Marketing, based out of London. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
How is everything doing in London? We were there in May, and we got a freak bout of amazingly beautiful weather while we're there for IRX, and my friends who are based in the UK said, don't count on this to happen every time you come to the UK, because that was a abnormally beautiful weather for an abnormally long stretch of time.
Yeah, it's definitely not normally like that. The country is gone back to its good old grey skies and a nice bit of drizzle as well. But yeah, I think the good thing about in whatever the weather is, you can count on the British to be complaining about it, whether it's too hot or whether it's raining or whatever it may be. There's a problem with it, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, as somebody who lived in New Zealand for 28 years, certainly New Zealand has much more similar weather to the UK than Mexico does, where I live now. So I definitely know what it's like to live in a place where weather is the topic of conversation almost every single day.
Absolutely. That's island living, isn't it? But yeah, I had the same in New Zealand. I think actually when I landed, it was ridiculously hot one day, 34 degrees. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And then it was literally half the next day. And it was, I was like, is this normal? And they're like, yeah, it's very normal to have four seasons in a day.
Completely normal.
Yeah, 4 seasons
Nothing
in a day.
strange about that at all.
No, exactly.
Listen, we won't spend too much time talking about the weather today on the podcast, but before we jump straight into GOA, what you do, how you do it, why you decided to build this technology platform and services layer over the top of it, why don't you tell us how you came to be in this wonderful world of e-commerce and digital?
Oh, it's a great question. So I first started my career in B2B sales, was enjoying it, but then I saw this internet thing growing and growing. This is in, I think, 2008. My friend had just moved into it and I thought I'd give this thing paid search a go. So I moved across into it, moved around in a few different areas of digital. Like I helped build a DSP in, I think it was 2010, did a lot of affiliate marketing. But yeah, just really took to it because it's a lot of maths-based situation. I've been quite good at that. And I'm quite a creative person in the way I approach things. I think I just always really enjoyed it. And yeah, just knew that the internet was going to grow. And thankfully it has definitely done that.
Love it. Love it. And fast forward to GOA and what you guys are building and doing over at GOA. It's certainly not new. You're not a startup by any stretch of the imagination, and you've been doing this over a decade. You have built a technology. Did GOA start out as an SI, like an agency, a specialist agency in performance, and then you decided to build a tech layer to facilitate the services you were providing, and then you were like, hey, this has worked really well. Let's eat our own dog food here. Let's develop the platform, and then let's spin this out. And let's do this as a platform service to lots of businesses, even if they don't work with our agency.
So then it started off pure tech. So I've always wanted to build it. So I think it was in 2009 I first thought of the concept. The thing is within digital marketing, particularly paid media, it's usually, I don't really like the analogy that much, but it's usually 10th death by 1,000 cuts. So it's a little bit here, a little bit there. It's not usually one big thing. It can be one big thing. I've seen that a few times in the past, but it's usually lots of different areas that you need to monitor and maintain and keep control of. So that was years ago. I think I started off building it in pivot tables and Excel, and then moved into fully automated products. So started building it, I think it was 2015, launched it 2017. So started very much off as a SaaS, have been ever since. Very much focused on Google Ads and trying to keep on top of the ever-changing Google. It's quite an interesting environment out there. I think that could be applied to every single part of digital marketing, to be honest, at the moment. It's the rate of knots of change is incredible, isn't it? But so I think that's really what the opportunity was very much identified, was to help advertisers keep on top of their spend and investment in Google Ads. When we were first coming up with the business as well, so GOA is, of course, it's an acronym because we thought there's not enough digital marketing acronyms as it is. So we was having a good laugh about endless acronyms. I think one enterprise advertiser I came across had a book of acronyms, which was like 30 pages long, of specific acronyms just for that advertiser, just for digital marketing, which is quite incredible. So I was laughing about that at the time. So I thought, let's make GOA an acronym. So it stands for governance, opportunity, and accountability. So that's very much what we're trying to do. Help people think that they're off to GOA, nice holiday in GOA. But that's really what we focus on, is the sort of helping advertisers keep on top of those areas.
And it's interesting because when I first started out in this game of e-com back many years ago now, been doing it for 25 years. And when I first started running PPC ads for my own e-commerce business through Google, it wasn't called Google Ads at that time. It was called Google AdWords, of course, back in the day. We're going back quite early in e-com history now. But when we were paying 5 cents a click, we thought this is amazing. It almost felt free. It felt like it was like a light switch or turning on a tap in your kitchen. It was literally as simple as, okay, put a little bit of money in, send an ad to a product page or a category page, make sales. It was that simple. And although they had training and I went through their training at the time, it was literally only about 4 modules, and it would take you like an hour to get through the entire Google AdWords training. Very simple platform. None of this GTM rubbish. None of this GA4 rubbish, none of this difficult to find reporting, none of this difficulty in linking an ad's performance with revenue. It was like a straight line, and it was very easy to quantify. It was very easy to make adjustments. It was very easy to create your negative keywords. It was very easy to create your ad groups. It was all it was pretty easy. If you were willing to dedicate just even a small amount of time to the platform, you could get pretty expert at it pretty quickly, and you didn't have to be like, I'm no genius. I could pick it up. So if I could pick it up, literally anybody could pick it up. And I was new to digital marketing at that stage. I was working for an agency. That was my first job. And alongside that, we built this e-commerce business kind of out of our bedrooms initially in the evenings after work. But it's not like that anymore. And GA4 has been an absolute shambles. I think most people would agree to that. I don't even have it installed on my current site because it's so useless to me. I get more value out of Microsoft Clarity than I do out of GA4. And being able to watch sessions and see where people are getting hung up and seeing where they're dwelling and seeing what pages they visit and being able to segment like that. But from a marketing perspective, I feel like most e-commerce businesses today still have that Google gun to their head in the sense that they rely on it to drive a significant amount of their traffic, especially when they're new and especially when they first start out, because it's still like a light switch in the sense that you can drive a lot of traffic, but it's just infinitely more expensive and infinitely more complex now today than it ever was. And is that kind of one of the evolutions that you saw in the market, and you said, look, we maybe can't make Google ads as easy as AdWords used to be, but we can take some of the pain out of the process.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really interesting one that you say that. So I remember I was reading a few books earlier about startup success and going through it. And I was like, hey, this is interesting. Yeah, maybe they've got good product market fit. And then, exactly that. They said, oh, and then we did some AdWords and we bought every click for 2 cents. There we go. That point of differentiation between the current situation where you are paying a lot of money per click. I mean, we've seen, what was the highest one we saw? I think the highest one we've seen so far is €900 for 1 click. That is an extreme case. The one that we have in all of our in our sort of presentations is a £697 click, because we actually have the screenshot of it in the wild in Google Ads. But yeah, it's insane. And thinking about it now, if you're starting a business and looking to scale something with that, it's just not possible in the same way, is it? If your click costs have gone up thousands of %, you can't really build that. Whereas before, I think you could very much go and say, let's harness the demand from Google. Obviously, people are looking for this thing. Let's get in front of them, bring them to the site, crack on and get some great conversions for cheap. But now it's just, it's very expensive. It's very complex. It's hard to know as well where your ads, what's being shown, and it's, with all of the changes from Google as well, it's very hard to know, for advertisers to know really what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. So I don't know, another big change. So obviously, actually did AdWords for AdWords many years ago as well, which was really interesting. So I got to see inside the Google machine as well, which is, that was a very interesting one. Very interesting the way that they operated as well, because obviously pay search is free for them. But anyway, it was fascinating to see. But the thing is now is if you obviously got Performance Max, you've got, which is Google says that it's exact match, Performance Max, broad match in terms of the matching order, which is not always like that at all. Many advertisers will agree, having seen the data, but the thing is as well, is a lot of people don't even know where to look anymore because it changes so much. So whereas before, like you said, it's relatively simple. You come in, this is where this is, and Now, when you look on lots of PPC WhatsApp groups and they're like, where's this gone? Is this gone? And they're like, no, it's moved to here. To go click. There it is. And these things are happening more and more in terms of the changes. I think ultimately I think for me, what with Google, the way they're approaching it is I'd prefer to see them almost charging more for paid search rather than trying to consolidate low quality inventory in with the high quality stuff. It's just a paid search, Google shopping, incredible, really incredible advertising mediums. Whereas if you start throwing like Gmail and other things like that, it's a very different intent, isn't it? It's people aren't searching for those things. They're out browsing the Gmail or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's a very much changing landscape. And I don't know if you've seen the recent ones as well. So for example, the simple text ad. As before, as you'd have your headlines and your description lines. Now there's things called RSA, so responsive search ads. You get up to 15 headlines, up to 4 descriptions. It's Google's approach to multivariate testing.
All right.
And you just give it to Google, and yeah, sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't. It's very interesting because you go back and it was like a very set formula on how you run paid search, whereas now it does seem to change by region, by brand, by all sorts. And should you pin these ads? Should you do this to it? And the good thing is if you're a tester, as in you actually test things and you are looking to apply the statistical based tests and try and approach it in a scientific method, then you can still find out what works best for you. But I think a lot of that has gone.
You're going to spend a lot of money in the process to get there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you have to invest a lot to find out the answers as well. But I think, yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating time seeing how it's going. Like at the moment, it's all eyes are on we've seen the AI overviews that Google's been looking at. Very interesting. So I've seen, they're not really properly been rolled out over here yet, but I've seen a few screenshots of them, and like maybe I just saw a really bad one, but the UX on it looked horrific. It was all over the place. I was like, where should you click? And yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest and interesting thing as well is going to be everyone's talking about how LLMs are coming to kill off Google, and I still think people will be using Google for a while to find something specifically, but I mean, the really interesting thing, I think, do you see OpenAI recently confirmed that they'll be going down the affiliate-based model?
Yep.
So it's like
they've got their partnership model with Shopify and Shopify APIs and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I guess the thing is as well is like what point when consumers start to question the situation, because it's, well, how are you showing me this result? But the thing is, then you don't know what deal they've got at the back end. So, one airline they could get 2% per sale, another one they get 5%. So I wonder which one they're going to show more. So I don't know, it's just really challenging the whole point of what used to make Google so great in the first instance was like you go to Google, you'd find something, you Google it, you'd actually find the thing you're looking for. Whereas now it's like, where do you go? What sources do you trust? It's it's a fascinating time to watch, and it's fascinating. It's the first time in recent history that Google's been challenged. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating time. And I do, with it from our perspective, like we help people understand the complexity and keep control of it and keep an eye on the AI. So for us, the change is good, but it's fascinating to watch it happen.
Yeah, I've redirected all my web queries to ChatGPT. Have done that for the last 6 or 8 months now with a plugin into the Brave browser, so it just redirects all my Omnibox queries directly to ChatGPT. So I haven't used a Google search in months personally, and I realized, geez, if I really want to wrap my head around this AI thing, I really need to dig deep into it, and I almost need to go cold turkey off the old ways of doing things and the old ways of running my business and try to think through the lens of AI first. And I've started building an app in Lovable yesterday, and to do some cool stuff that I wanted to do that there's no SaaS app out there to do it. And yeah, I'm trying to just go in boots and all with this whole AI thing, because I feel almost like mobile, that this is the next wave. This is the next evolution. This is the next generation of technology. And it's kind of like the fourth industrial revolution is, I think, what it's been called. And so trying to go boots and all into this AI thing and trying to really understand it as thoroughly as I possibly can, as someone who's naturally curious about technology anyway, naturally curious about commerce anyway, it makes sense to try to wrap my head around everything AI related as best I can. But for you guys, are you targeting your software at in-house capabilities? Are you targeting this at agencies that run PPC, Google Ads on behalf of clients? Are you targeting it at both? What level of experience, expertise, capability do you expect the person managing these accounts to have when they discover GOA, the platform? what level of capability do they really need to have to see the best value out of the platform?
Yeah, so we're working with all levels of capability. So we've got something in there for everyone. You can start off with some of the more basic checks, which will be like the housekeeping, making sure that the brilliant basics are done. But there's really advanced reports in there, which you can really start to get to delve into. So very much works for people of all capabilities. We're very much focused on the enterprise market at the moment, just because we're very much like about giving the large advertisers a view across their big international accounts. I think our biggest client spends, I don't know, 120 million a year on paid search. I think something like that,
Wow.
which is a lot of money. And with those ones as well, take that one, for example, they were targeting, I think it was a load of blog pages with PMAX, but more of an informational page, which is not going to drive a transaction. Therefore, it's not really worth investing from that respect. So that one was a very quick and easy win for them. But then I think a lot of the time as well is what we're really helping people with as well as getting an understanding about, I'd say, bringing back ad copy testing and bringing back testing a bit more within these environments, because I'd say it's not a huge amount that sometimes happens within these advertisers, and we're very keen to help them understand the benefits of doing so. I think a lot of it comes as well from the change in the environment, because when I started doing it, it was very much everything was a lever, everything was a switch. You could change your bids, you could do everything like that. Whereas a lot of people now, I think, have come into this environment where it's, right, you chuck on the bidding algorithm, you put in this algorithm, you do that, and you sit back and let the algorithms do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an art to obviously algorithm optimization as well, because it's a critical part of it. Working with giving it the right data, making sure you're making changes at the right frequency, you're not overloading it with changes, because that just, it can't learn and it gets upset, doesn't it? Yeah, so from our side, very much work with all levels of capabilities, but very much focused on the enterprise end of the market at the moment. It's just really helping drive fantastic results. Our latest case study was with Avis Budget Group, so we helped them. I think it's helped them save about 250,000 in the first 3 months of using GOA, or driving efficiencies from that respect. So I think with a lot of it, these things, a lot of people will say, oh yeah, I don't need to necessarily do that, or I don't need to keep on top of that. But all these little changes do really make a big difference. Like I say, it's that sort of death by 1,000 cuts analogy. So that's what we're really finding. We're very much helping all aspects of all levels of digital understanding. And like you, we're building a lot of things using in AI. So I'm mainly focused on my LLM of choice is Claude. I use a few of them for different reasons, but I think it's really interesting to see how all that's going to go as well, because at the moment they are all losing a lot of money, aren't they? There's not, as you look at the earnings reports, they are earning a lot of cash, which of course it's an arms race for who has the big AI platform, and there'll be a few serious winners. So I think as well as helping people understand how to leverage that, as well as some things we're potentially going to start looking into, is that how people can automate more of their world using AI. So go back to your question though, all levels. And I think what we're really helping them understand is how to speed up their processes, how to make sure that they get these things done, which are essential. Not always the most exciting things in the world, but they do make a big difference to performance.
Yeah. I assumed it was an enterprise-focused platform when you don't have prices on your website. You are a SaaS platform, but any SaaS platform that doesn't put a bronze, silver, gold plan on their website to choose from, and then enterprise at the top. Any SaaS platform that doesn't have a pricing page tells me, okay, you're fairly and squarely aiming for the enterprise. Reach out, we'll have a conversation with you, and we'll tell you what our pricing is. So that makes sense. We'll talk a little bit more about your pricing model later, but one of the things that stood out to me, and in all transparency with the audience, I've never worked with you before, I've never worked with the platform before, so this is, I have to go with what's on the tin, so to speak. But one of the things that seems to be focus of the platform is visual aids, for lack of a better term, which instead of just having a whole laundry list of numbers, of almost like a virtual spreadsheet, so to speak, we're actually doing things in a very visual way that is easy to absorb the information and the signals and the recommendations that are being given visually. So you've got your ad scorecard, and you're also giving an overall state as this kind of a green, it's like a traffic light system, right? Not only at the account level, but also at the recommendation, the specific insights and recommendation level across either specific ads, ad groups, and high level at the account level as well. And I really like the fact that it's just, you even have a little screenshot here of some of the visual components of the user interface, and it's literally like a traffic light. You've got red, yellow, red, amber, green, whatever it is. I think you use amber as the color in the UK, whereas in the US it's yellow. But and then you have these charts over time. What is the account history over time? What is its performance over time? What issues have we resolved over time? And it's charting the performance over a long period of time. Also understanding ways in which, or connecting the dots between brand protection and making sure that we're using the right brand copy, both for obviously branded ads versus non-branded, but also trying to take into account what types of things or what kind of triggers Google themselves might block. Copy that Google might say, oh, sorry, you can't say that. You can't use these phrases. You can't use these words. For example, if you were trying to advertise in the hemp industry, which if you were trying to advertise industrial hemp, you could probably do that, but you couldn't advertise THC products, for example. So there's a whole lot there, I guess, that a human being could do, but it's very difficult to do at scale. And that feels to me like what GOA is designed to do. Is it's designed, I guess, to give an account manager, for lack of a better term, a Google account manager, whether it be internal or agency, it gives them superpowers to where anything that sticks out and stands out as a performance bottleneck or a performance challenge, that's going to be surfaced to you pretty damn quickly without you having to look through an entire suite of 500 ad groups.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, very pleased you like the traffic light system. So yeah, all of that's completely customizable as well. Advertisers can go through and say, this is my approach to these KPIs. This is what our brand name is. This is all that sort of good stuff as well. And then the platform will work specifically for them in that respect as well. Yeah, so it's very much about finding anomalies, significant spikes in performance. Key always also track gradual changes as well. That's always a big area. And then making sure you can keep on top of like seasonal trends or performance declines before they actually hit your budget as well. Other really good ones as well would be things like making sure that expired promo copy is not live, or that you aren't spending lots of money on irrelevant areas, because that's very easy to do, particularly with the sort of the in Performance Max as well. Yeah, lots of different things from that side. Yeah, so we've got that side, which is very much the traffic light system, which is the governance and helping you keep control over your Google ads. But then we also have another purple page as well, which basically dives into much more, gives a lot bigger, a lot detailed reports, a lot more extensive insights. So take, for example, so recently Google launched like Performance Max for a breakdown of spend. So before you would only just get like a top line channel spend. So we had for 18 months, I think before Google launched it, we had the full breakdown by channel. So you could find out how much you're spending on search, shopping, GDN, all that sort of stuff as well. A lot of interesting insights on that side. And we're also looking to provide more things that can just help you make intelligent decisions from reviewing things that happened last year. So for example, what were the rising search terms last year versus this year? So you can start to see what's happening from a seasonality perspective. So yes, we do a lot of that side. And I think another big area that I'm looking to do is provide some more in-depth, granular, longer reports as such, which effectively help analyze these. For example, looking at your negative keyword strategy, what's happening there, where are you blocking, what are you blocking, should you be blocking this, how should you be approaching this? And just giving a lot more insight for people to understand what's happening in their accounts. With all of this, though, there's a big caveat, of course, because where Google goes is yet to be seen. But it's fascinating watching the changes with it. But for example, I don't know if it's the big one that everyone's talking about at the moment. Do you see that Amazon? Everyone's talking about how Amazon's been pausing their shopping ads. I think it happens on a regular basis, to be honest. But it's fascinating watching to see what impacts that has as well on the market as a whole. But yeah, so I think, so anyway, to go back to products, really focusing in on just helping people keep on top of things. And then, like I think you mentioned, we have a roll-up situation as well, which that's where we're really finding a lot of value. So being able to consolidate, if you've got 100 Google Ads accounts, consolidating one into one view and understanding what's happening from that side.
And do you work with advertisers that are maybe in startup mode? I know you target the enterprise. Oftentimes, getting an initial ad account set up and running is the challenge, right? What is our ad account strategy going to be? What is our ad group strategy going to be? What is our keyword targeting strategy going to be? What is our regional localization, geofencing strategy going to be? There's so many aspects to this, depending on what vertical, what market, whether you're driving, what type of traffic you're trying to drive, whether you're a pure play e-commerce business or whether you're omni-channel, whether you're trying to drive traffic to physical stores, whether you're trying to drive try-ons. There's myriad different things that kind of come into this ad model, right? And everybody's got their own goals. Everybody's got their own idea around this. But unless you're working as a startup in particular, unless you're working with an agency that kind of give you some guidance, because as you say, it's you want to try to skate where the puck is going, and unfortunately Google's always smacking the puck further down the ice, and so trying to keep up with them is always a difficult thing. And to even understand where Google is at algorithmically in any given point in time is really hard for advertisers to understand, and I think that's partly intentional on their part. Always keep the advertisers jumping, always keep the advertisers guessing, always trying to close the loopholes on where you can drive some alpha out of your account, where you can find some alpha. They're increasingly trying to capture more and more value for Google and less value for you. That's the idea here, right? And they've got that monopoly. And so setting up your ad account right from day dot feels like a really important thing to get right.
Yeah, absolutely. The structure and the basis, structure is a critical aspect. So making sure that you have everything segmented in the right way, making sure that you're going to be able to spend in the right places as well. Still so often see some horrific conversion goal situations as well. Had this really bad one, actually, make sure I don't give away any information. A very large advertiser e-commerce account where they, I think, what was it? PMax spend. So PMax spend and shopping with year-on-year comparison was the same spend, but revenue was down 53%. Plus, they also, what was the other one that they did? And they also decided to track. So they put attributed value in GA, so in Google Analytics, to a certain page view. So 20% of their revenue wasn't even revenue. It was, and that's the setup. Getting the setup is critical. So making sure you have the campaign structure that's going to help ensure that you're spending in the right areas, making sure that you're still one of the biggest things that is really important to do, is making sure that you have high quality ads showing to that search term. So the right ads, making sure it's the right type of product. It's still such a critical thing because people expect fast results. And then finally, of course, like making sure that you have the setup in place so you can let the algorithms do the work that they're meant to be doing is a critical part of it as well. So if you don't have that right setup, it can go wrong very quickly. But yeah, and other ones that the amount of times I've seen people say, for example, what was it? It was a very large fashion e-commerce, and they were it was a new market, and they're spending all of them, 90% of their budget on these two brands where they had none of the brands on the website. They're two of the world's most famous brands, but they had one or two items and in weird sizes, not in standard sizes. So ultimately, it was you're bringing all this traffic and there's nothing there for them to buy. So that's just another classic one. I think one of the biggest things that people should do really is, and this applies to all digital, is try and follow the process. So if you've got the email, click on the link, see what happens on your website. If you spend a bit of time just trying to buy something on your website, usually just the common sense of just going through it, and you just go, hang on, why I can't find this, or why can't I click on that, or this is stopped here. So I think that's another thing that is an integral part. It's usually when I used to do audits, and just like for agencies, that was one of the first things I'd do, just go through on one of the main terms, try and buy something, try and have a look at what happened. And more often than not, that gives you a really big clue into what's happening. I think all of those things are critical. But of course, as the website is also insanely important to get right in this respect. So the amount of times you have people saying, oh yeah, I'll give you more budget, and you're just like, just please take a small bit of that budget, invest it in CRO, actually get yourself a decent converting website that answers the question. The consumer's looking for something, they're looking to be taken down a certain route, and can you just please do that a bit better? Because that makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, trust is a huge thing, and I log into Reddit daily trying to answer as many questions as I can just to be helpful to the industry. And the number of posts I come across in the main e-commerce subs where people say, oh, I've launched this new Shopify website, I've spent $5,000 on Google, or I've spent $5,000 on meta ads or whatever, and I'm not making any sales, or whatever the case may be. And they always finish it off with, oh, here's the link to my website, go and roast my site, or go and give me advice, I'm an open book. And you go there and you go, where do I start? Because there's nothing about this site that is working right. There's
No.
no trust mark. There's a contact form. There's no email address. There's no physical address. There's no founder story. There's nothing differentiated about your site. There's nothing differentiated about your products. There's nothing differentiated about your pricing. I can go to Amazon. I can get every single thing that you sell for cheaper, for faster, with higher trust. I'm sure I'm going to get it. And so I think that you rightly point out that fundamentals are still fundamentals, and they're fundamentals for a reason. And if you could get someone who wasn't associated with you, if you launched this new website, you didn't have a family member or a friend go to that website, and someone just came there, didn't know you from a bar of soap, and they looked at the website, would they have any level of trust for you? What would interest them about this website? What would interest them about the products that you sell? Is there any curation going on? Are you just another drop shipper that adds zero value to the experience? Do you even have a shipping page? Do I know when I'm going to get it? Do I know when I should expect to get it? Are you going to charge me immediately, even if it's going to take 3 weeks to get it to me? So there's a million questions. And I do 90+% of my shopping online, and I mostly always have. And I know I'm an outlier in that regard. It's only about 20 to 30% of total retail spend is online still to this day. So the reality is I know I'm an outlier. But as a result of that, I get to see lots of shitty websites, and I get to see lots of shitty e-commerce websites, and I get to go through lots of shitty e-commerce experiences. And I can tell you that the vast majority of them are still pretty shitty. The ability to find and search for the products that I'm looking for, you'd think that search, merch, and personalization was just table stakes for absolutely every website out there. It's not. You would think that a contact page with really good, solid, trustworthy information would be table stakes. It's not. You would think that a standard shipping information page with the rates and how you're going to charge for shipping would be table stakes. It's not. You would think that all these things are absolute bare bones, bare minimum table stakes, but they still are not as of 2025. And I've been in this industry for 25 years. So the reality is that the basics matter, and it feels like the basics of structuring an ad account right matter. Can you take them from a blank sheet of paper and help them set up an ad account from zero by saying, okay, cool, what's your industry, what's your niche, do you have physical stores? Can you step them through this, I hate to use this term, but like a wizard or an AI-led wizard of some variety that can help them go from nothing to a really well-structured ad account in a reasonable amount of time?
That's a good question. That's not something that we do. To be honest, most of our advertisers have been spending a significant amount, but it's definitely something you could do. I think with it, a lot of the time, it's just you just need to go to the website and see what they've actually got on the website. It's like you're selling what's on the website, so reflect what's on the website. That's the critical part of it. Obviously, now you've got the Google Merchant Center as well, which sort of, I think it's rebranded. Is it Merchant Center now? I can't remember. To be honest, I still keep calling Google Ads AdWords.
Yes.
It's just that sort of crept back into my terminology recently. Another one that I don't know if you ever used, is it on Adobe Analytics? I still call Omniture regularly. I don't know if again you ever use that. Can't seem to get past it. But anyway, yeah. So I think I'm sure the thing is Google tried to do that. I think I can't remember what they called it. It was AdWords Express. I think it was the first time they tried to do it. I think it could work if it was done by someone that wasn't Google. But I think it's definitely something that could be done. It's nothing that we would do in that side, but definitely something that could be done, I think, particularly now as we're getting more and more natural language processing is improving. It's still got a long way to go, I think. But I think it was really interesting. I think they said the other day that it's AI's got the brain capacity of a cat at the moment. I think someone said recently. I don't know if you saw that, but it's got a long way to go before it's a human. But I think the fact that it's got to be a cat so quickly does make me think it's not going to be too long. But anyway, we'll definitely know when that comes in and the natural language processing can work, and the legal industry and a few other industries are going to definitely suffer, aren't they, from that side? But I think that a wizard could definitely work. But I think the main thing is you do really need to have a good understanding of how to harness the demand. Ultimately, what are the main things that you're searching? What are the things your consumers are searching for? What are your competitors doing? What are there's lots of different things that go into it. And also it's just standing out, because it's ultimately on the search engine results pages or the SERPs. You need to go and look and see what other people are doing, because that does make a difference. Because what's your point of differentiation? What's your competitive nature? What can you offer that others can't? But with a lot of these things as well, I just regularly laugh. It's ultimately as well, it does obviously come down to the product. If you've got a great product, which is at a reasonable price, then it's going to fly off the shelves. But going back to your point, I think there'll be more and more of those wizards approaching. I think that's what they're trying to do with Performance Max. But yes, it's definitely is a wizard that you want to keep a close eye on, Performance Max.
Yeah, understood. Now, you can't have a podcast these days without talking about AI, and we've touched on it lightly. I don't see a time in the too far distant future where most purchases are done online agentically, where we've got our own agent, whether it be in ChatGPT, whether it be in Grok, whether it be in whatever our agent of choice is. And then there's also going to be agents that are spun up by the websites themselves. When you arrive, they're almost like a digital concierge. And I can't see a time in the too distant future where, uh, I can't see the current 2D point click search bar paradigm. I can't see that persisting for very much longer. I really can't. And I can see a scenario where you would come to a website and there's literally a chat box, like it's a ChatGPT chat box. What are you looking for today? It's a Q&A. Similar to how when you go into a retail store today, you go into a jewelry store. If I walk into a jewelry store today, and I've used this example on the podcast before, you're not going to have the person behind the counter just slap 50 things on the counter. They're going to ask you a series of 10, 20 questions. What's your favorite stone? Are you buying for yourself or someone else? What's your budget? What type of metal do you like? Are you buying a ring, a necklace, a set of earrings? They're going to ask you 20 questions, and then they're going to narrow it down to 3, 4, 5 products, and they're going to put those 3, 4, 5 products on the counter for you to have a look at that fits what you're searching for. And I think we're pretty rapidly getting to a place where that's going to be the type of experience we get on e-commerce websites, because nobody really wants to have to try to figure out the category hierarchy. The category hierarchy and the taxonomy might make sense to the business and it might make sense to the brand, but it doesn't necessarily automatically mean it makes sense to the consumer. And it certainly doesn't necessarily universally make sense to all customers that land on your website, that use different terms for different things, and S's versus Z's, even in the English language, and all sorts of other things, right? There's a million different things that we're trying to cater for on these websites. And it's difficult to do that perfectly for every consumer everywhere all the time. And so I think this conversational AI model, whereby we're going to interact with an agent that is like a concierge, and then it's going to ask you some questions, you're going to give it some answers, and then it's going to present you a short list of 5 to 10 items that are going to meet that, and then it's going to continue to converse with you as you go through your shopping experience, whether it be typewritten chat or literal voice conversation. And what do you think happens to Google Ads in a world where search may not be the primary way that people find products anymore? What do you think happens to Google Ads in a scenario where the entire e-commerce shopping paradigm UI UX model is turned on its head? And obviously I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball a little bit here, and none of us have a crystal ball. I understand that, but surely, because your business is predicated on the current paradigm of shopping and the current paradigm of the standard interface, landing pages, category pages, product pages, if that whole paradigm goes away, I guess you're just trusting that Google will figure out a way to get their placements in front of people no matter what the paradigm is.
At the moment, I guess you could say that. Yeah, but I think there's got to be a certain element of trust, right? So if you're a consumer, so I don't know, so in this agentic world, I guess I'd have my own agent that would go out and do my shopping for me, and then we'd go out and haggle with all of the other agents out there on the website, in the web. Again, I guess it'd be some sort of market. We'd send them down to the virtual market. We're like, off you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that world, I'd be surprised if it comes around as quickly as everyone thinks. It's hard to say though, isn't it? Because the rate of change is exponential. But I think in that respect, obviously that is if Google completely changes from that side, I think that's obviously we will be changing our business strategy. We're looking to expand to the other platforms anyway. But again, though, what would be how all that would work? It's a fascinating question. If you look at all of the potential changes to the rest of the industry, as I mentioned, the legal industry, what about the accounting industry? The white collar revolution is really coming in fast. I think the amount of times I've heard someone say, "Oh, it's amazing! Like I can just use ChatGPT and it'll just do most of my job for me." And you say that it's like,
yeah,
what happens if your job can be done by a machine? Yeah. So I don't know. I think the thing is, as well as how will it impact in-person shopping. Like you said, e-commerce is still a smaller part of the shopping world. And with that stat, actually, you said earlier, I think if you take out grocery shopping from e-commerce as well, I think that changes it significantly, doesn't it? So I think that's one that's it's still by far the biggest commerce
category.
The biggest category, yeah. So I think, I don't know. It's a fascinating future, isn't it? I think but the thing is, who will we trust to do that? So it's the same with review sites. When you look at review sites or sponsored reviews in newspapers and things like that, you know, for years, it's just what actually is the truth out there and who's on my side and who's actually looking out for my best interest.
Yeah.
And a lot of that will come down to who would you trust with it? Like, is Claude going to be your shopper? And then is who knows? I think, yeah, but definitely it would massively impact our business, impact the whole, I think that the whole web is being challenged in terms of how it's disrupted. If we do go down this AI overview and people aren't going through to websites, publishers have already seen, was it like 50% drop in traffic? Publishers are already struggling. But yeah, I don't think but it's the fascinating thing is like, where would you get your news from as well? So that's the other things that are changing. Is it from your echo chamber of things not Facebook anymore? Is it from the algorithm that Meta's decided to serve you, or TikTok? I don't know. I think the other thing for me as well is what's crazy about all of this is what will happen, levels of trust. For example, we're already seeing people in power having fake AI videos made about them, or teachers have some horrific stories about these things coming out. It's just, what do you believe? Who do you believe? What do you believe? Those are really funny ones. Have you seen the ones that China have been doing recently about Trump and like all the world leaders that they don't like? Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
Some hilarious videos that they've been making. Anyway, very interesting to see. But yeah, getting back to your point though, I don't know, it's fascinating. Will we have AI shoppers that go out and do the work for us and then be like, I'm happy to wait for 2 weeks for this product, so please sit there and keep negotiating hard, and then if someone needs to hit their monthly end. Yeah, that is a potential future. I think it's going to take a lot longer to come around though than people think. 3, 4, 5 years rather than 6 months or whatever. A year. I just think but then also you got to think about just the way that how many businesses operate in terms of the traditional retail space still. It's when you're in LinkedIn, you're in this bubble of everyone coming up with this AI this or AI that. And I've got $1 billion turnover business, not $1 billion. I've got $10 million turnover and I have no employees, or I have one employee that does this. I'm still quite skeptical about a lot of those because I've watched some of those videos and you're like, is that actually the case? But I do. It's not. I'm definitely not disagreeing. Though I do think it's going to come around very fast. I think the world is changing at an unprecedented rate, and yeah, it'd be fascinating to see how it works. I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down though to consumer behavior, doesn't it? If you look at everyone's, voice search is going to change the world and everything. It's like hardly anyone voice searches, and it's also the thing is you don't want to sit there and voice search on the bus or on the public transport or in your office. Yeah. And will people want to be part of that shopping experience themselves? I don't know. It depends on what the item is, I guess, as well. I think it'd be very. And if you look at, again, like China, I think China and a few other places in Asia are really leading that sort of. Or is it they have all those in-person shopping events as well, don't they? And you go there and you get excited. And I think ultimately you still got to make the consumer. It's for a lot of things. It's. You've got to win the consumer around. You've got to get interested in your brand. You've got to do all sorts of things that still apply. Yeah, I don't know. I've gone on a bit of a roundabout discussion point there, but I think it's going to be fascinating to see if and when that happens, and if consumers will be trusting their virtual shopping assistant to do the best job for them.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what consumers are going to do. They're a fickle bunch, that's for sure. But I'm sure Google will figure out. They've got a big enough war chest, and they have enough money coming in. I'm sure they will figure out how to get an ad in front of you, whether it's in XR space, whether it's digital billboards, whether it's Google will always figure out a way to be able to get ads, and also being able to tap into network media and retail media networks. They obviously have placements there as well. So even in physical spaces, they can get in front of you. Listen, this has been a fascinating conversation. As we do come down to the end of our time together, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to learn more about GOA marketing, I'll drop a link to the website as well as your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. But other than that, how do you like people to get a hold of you and find out all about the GOA platform?
Yeah, so finding out about the GOA platform, you can go get in touch via the website. So there's an easy way to get in touch there. Or you can hit me up on LinkedIn as well. I'm regularly on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, lots of different ways to get in touch with the team. And yeah, I think it's a great time to be looking at these sort of fundamentals to make sure that you're keeping on top of these areas, because ultimately we do usually find a lot of things that can really help drive performance. I think given the macroeconomic situation in the world as well, everyone's definitely looking for a bit more efficiency and a bit more upside from that respect.
Totally. And how do you guys make your money? You're a SaaS platform. How do you charge? Is it based on ad groups managed? Is it based on number of accounts? Is it like, what do you base your pricing model on?
Base the pricing loosely on we have tiered basically on how much you spend. So in terms of like tiers, the more you spend, the greater the reduction in the percentage that the percentage we charge. Depends as well. So some of our very large scaled accounts as well, we have sort of flat fees and things in place as well. So we've got generally though it is based around spend.
So percentage of ad spend.
Yeah.
Similar to how an agency might charge, for example.
Similar-ish, but we'd say this is a set. You spend 3 to 4 million a year. You're in this band, 5 to 6, whatever it is, all that sort of stuff. So there's different tiers, and we would then use that as a percentage. But what we do is we fix a flat rate for the 12 months. So you're going to spend 20 million over the next 12 months. This is your fee for GOA for the next 12 months.
Makes complete sense. Now, as we do come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to you. I get to let you ask me one question, any question you like. It can be personal or professional. Mr. Dan CHORLTON from GOA Marketing. What is your question for me today?
I'd be really interested to hear your perspective of like the question you asked me about Google and website, given the fact that you work in e-commerce and you're there, have all of this history and knowledge base on that side. Where do you think we're going over the next, say, 2 to 3 years? What do you think the future of e-commerce is?
Yeah, look, it's super interesting. For the last 5 years, I've been focusing on B2B e-commerce exclusively. And so I've been working with manufacturers and distributors selling to distributors selling to dealers, etc. So it's a totally different sort of world in the B2B e-commerce world, and agentic procurement is becoming a thing in the B2B world. And certainly that's a huge part of it. In the B2B world, we also have EDI, we have Punch Out, we have all sorts of other digital channels other than self-service e-commerce. And self-service e-commerce isn't a given in the B2B world yet at all. There's, as some estimates put it, between 40 and 60% of manufacturers and distributors offer self-service e-commerce, but the remainder don't. And so it's very much still greenfield space in the B2B world. And we're probably 5 to 10 years behind retail e-commerce in the B2B world. But having said that, from a retail e-commerce perspective, I think that agentic commerce is probably going to get there sooner and faster in the B2C world, because consumers like new stuff. They like new technologies. They like, especially kids are being born today that will be AI natives. Even 5 to 10-year-olds are going to be absolutely AI natives, and it will be as natural to converse with a machine as it is to converse with a human, right? Mm-hmm. I think social media has trained them down that path where this is the remote control of their lives. And so I think there won't be the stigma. Even when we talk about like the Meta glasses from Ray-Ban and everything else, we've moved a long way from the Google Glass. We've moved a long way from people being embarrassed to interact with machines verbally, to talk to machines, to talk to our phone. All the barriers to the social, political barriers and the pop culture barriers to interacting with machines, those are really coming down pretty damn fast. And people, when they're in their car and they're talking to their phone and they're asking questions of their phone, that's all become pretty normalized pretty quickly. And certain interacting via chat interfaces, typed chat interfaces, is becoming absolutely normalized as well. And people having very much larger context windows, they're used to that now, and they're used to these AI agents like ChatGPT. I'd be loath to change away from ChatGPT just because ChatGPT knows so much about me now. Like it knows the kind of answers that I want. It knows the kind of context. It knows so much about me personally that it's almost like the same barrier to entry for people moving away from Google back in the day is happening with these agents and these answer engines. And because they're not search engines, they're answer engines. And that's the paradigm shift. And so I see this shift happening pretty quickly. I wrote a LinkedIn article when they had Pulse, which they don't have anymore, where in 2017, I coined the term stealth commerce, which means a transaction that a customer doesn't recognize as a transaction. Meaning they've pre-authorized it well in advance. And for example, smart fridges, smart pantries, etc., where you say, okay, I always want to have 2 liters of milk in the fridge. I always want to have 2 loaves of bread in the pantry. I always want to have 2 bags of rice. I always want all these things, almost like min-maxes. And then when the system detects that we don't have that anymore, automatically we place an order we have our digital wallet saved with our grocery supplier of choice, for example, and just AI will go off and place the order. And this was before AI was even a big thing back in 2015. And so I think this is increasingly going to become the way we run our lives. And smart clothes, where they can tell how many washes it's had, how threadbare it is. And okay, cool. I always want to have 5 fresh pair of Levi's in my drawer. Okay, cool. This pair is worn out. Cool. I need to order another pair of Levi's. And I know your size. I know your color preferences. I know all these things. So I think there's going to be an increasing number of transactions that consumers don't recognize as a transaction because they've pre-authorized them well in advance.
Mm.
And there's still going to be surprise and delight. There's still going to be discovery. There's still going to be all those things, but there's going to be so many transactions in our daily life that are just handled for us based on preset conditions for those transactions to happen for us. I think that's a super interesting place that we're going to get to pretty quickly because of the power of AI and even just simple cameras being on certain things. And I think and the cost for this technology is coming down dramatically, and most platforms have moved to an API-led platform anyway. But anyway, that's my thinking at this time. But anybody that tells you they think they know hasn't been through any of these technology super cycles before, and they rarely turn out like we think they're going to turn out.
Because something combines with something and then creates a whole new thing, doesn't it? But yeah, there's a few things that you said there that was really interesting. Agentic procurement, something that I've not come across yet so far. Actually, that's a good one. And but yeah, no, I do agree with you on a lot of those points. It's be interesting to see how much consumers allow it to take over their lives, or how much they allow it into their lives, I should say, rather than take over their lives. I mean, it is very much answers, but then again, like going back to Levi's example, maybe you'd have say, I like a deal, so wait until Black Friday before you get my next pair of Levi's. So again, it'll be interesting to see how, who owns the assistant, agentic assistant that works with you. Again, will it be owned by a Google or a Amazon? Probably in that circumstance as well. It'd be like, how's that impacting the way that we're interacting as well? But yeah, very interesting to see.
Absolutely. Listen, this has been a fabulous conversation. I've learned a lot. It's been super interesting for me. I wish you every success with GOA, and I can't wait to speak to you again soon. Thank you so much for your time. Are you a B2B or D2C e-commerce merchant? Then head over to greenwoodconsulting.net to learn how we can help you scale your business.